From the very start, I could sense a distance creeping between us. My wife, Andrea, seemed to breathe differently, walk differently, like she was carrying around a secret she couldn't quite hide. She'd been throwing herself into her workout routine with a zeal I'd never seen before, and at first I chalked it up to a burst of health-conscious motivation. But something in my gut told me there was more to it than just endorphins and personal goals. And here's the thing. You won't believe how far she was willing to go to keep me in the dark. Before we dive into the madness that followed, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the twists and turns in this story. It only gets more intense from here. Looking back, the signs were there all along, if only I'd had the courage to face them sooner. She'd started going to the gym at odd hours, rushing out the door early in the mornings, and coming home unusually late some nights. At first, I trusted her implicitly. Marriage is built on faith, after all, and I didn't want to be that husband who hovered or questioned her every move. But each time she came back from those workout sessions, there was always this faint trace of someone else's cologne blending with her perfume. A subtle scent that made my heart twist. Whenever I asked how her day went, she'd give me half-hearted answers, quickly pivoting to another topic. My suspicions simmered until one Saturday evening when she claimed she needed to run to the store to pick up a few groceries for the week. She left dressed in yoga pants and a tank top. No jacket, even though the temperature was dropping outside. Something wasn't right. As the minutes stretched into hours, my worry turned into a gnawing dread. When she finally came home, she tossed a single grocery bag on the counter, filled mostly with random items that didn't make sense for any meal. Her hair was freshly tousled like she'd been in the middle of something far more physical than picking out produce. By that point, I couldn't ignore the alarms blaring in my head. I decided to find concrete proof before I confronted her, so I started checking her phone logs, keeping track of her movements through shared location services we'd set up long ago for safety. My suspicions soared when I spotted the same address popping up every time she had an urgent errand, the apartment complex belonging to her personal trainer. Driven by a desperate need to know the truth, I followed her one evening, tucking my car out of sight and waiting in the parking lot across the street. That's when I saw it. Andrea stepping out of her car and rushing into her trainer's arms, embracing him with an intimacy that made my stomach churn. They disappeared into his apartment, and I sat there, adrenaline roaring through my veins. Part of me wanted to storm in, confrontation blazing on my tongue, but I forced myself to wait. I needed a clear head and solid evidence. Over the next couple of weeks, I gathered everything: text messages, call records, photos. My phone became a catalog of heartbreak, each time-stamped revelation confirming just how deep she was in this affair. The trainer, a man named Damon, seemed almost proud of his conquest. In their flirty texts, he'd brag about how clueless I was, how easy it was to hide their affair between so-called workouts. Reading those messages, seeing the smug tone, fueled a quiet, focused anger inside me. Andrea had believed her new relationship was untouchable. She acted like my trust and good nature were weaknesses she could exploit. But she was wrong. When the moment to confront her arrived, I made sure it would leave no room for denial. One night after she'd come home late yet again, I calmly asked her to sit down. She noticed the folder on the coffee table, my silent, damning record of her betrayal. Her eyes flickered with panic, but still, she tried to play it off as if it was nothing. "This isn't what it looks like," she stammered, but her voice faltered when I started laying out each piece of evidence. The text messages, the photos of her car parked outside Damon's apartment, the receipts for a fancy hotel they'd booked for a weekend fitness retreat. Her lips trembled. She realized there was no wriggling out of it. She tried to lash out, blame me for not being supportive enough, not making her feel alive. Typical deflection. I just listened, my voice cold as I informed her that I'd already spoken to a divorce attorney. I told her I'd be leaving within the week, and that I had no intention of making this easy for her, financially or socially. The time for mercy had passed. If she thought she could disrespect me by flaunting her trainer affair and walking away scot-free, she had another thing coming. Word spread quickly among our circle of friends, and it wasn't long before Damon's reputation at the gym took a major hit. His client list dwindled to nearly nothing. Meanwhile, Andrea got a rude awakening when she discovered just how much the divorce settlement favored me. My legal counsel had worked meticulously, ensuring I wouldn't be left empty-handed after her deception. Watching her realize the magnitude of her losses was a grim validation of the resolve I'd built up. In the end, I walked away from that marriage knowing I'd done what was necessary to protect my dignity. Yes, it hurt. Yes, I'd be lying if I said the memories of her betrayal didn't occasionally keep me up at night. But I channeled that pain into a newfound sense of purpose, a kind of calm power that came from exposing the truth and refusing to be a victim. For Andrea, her perfect trainer affair turned out to be anything but untouchable. She may have seen my kindness as weakness, but she learned the hard way that once you cross certain lines, there's no going back and no mercy left to give. And that, right there, is how I made sure she wouldn't forget the day she gambled on an affair she believed was foolproof, only to lose everything when I decided enough was enough. If this story taught me anything, it's that blind trust can be weaponized against you. But so can the truth when it's finally brought to light.